There's a lot of love for one-pot meals these days, in which a multifaceted recipe can be made and even served in a single pot. Whether that pot is a colorful Dutch oven, an electric pressure cooker like an Instant Pot, or that old standby, a slow cooker like a crock pot, it's easy to see the appeal of a one-pot meal. There's less to clean up, less space needed on your stovetop or oven, and often the ease of set it and forget it cooking magic. Of course, one-pot meals are nothing new, and I'm not just talking about the ones your grandma made in her Dutch oven. People have been using specialized vessels to make one-pot meals for thousands of years, and one of the true OGs is this, the Tagine. Today we're going to dive into the world of Tagine, both the vessel and the meals made in it, how to use a Tagine and cook with it, and even how it can save you a lot of money when making meals. By the end of this video, you'll know everything you need to be a Tagine king or queen. So let's get into it. Hello and welcome to I Want to Cook. My name is Chef Matt and this channel is all about helping you be a better cook. And today we are discovering the world of Tagine. Now let's begin with the first question you might have. What's a Tagine? Now the word Tagine is unique in the culinary world because it refers to both the pot and the meal that is made in it. So you use a Tagine to make Tagine. Both Tagine the pot and Tagine the meal hail from North Africa, and they're most closely associated with Morocco. People there have been using tagines and making meals in them for thousands of years. The vessel itself is said to be traced back to the indigenous nomadic Berber people of North Africa, who used it over an open fire. Now the name Tagine is specific to this type of pot, but Tagine the meal is quite varied. But before we get into what we cook in a Tagine, let's talk about this thing. A Tagine pot looks quite different than any other cooking vessel, but functionally it works very similar to one of these, a Dutch oven. Now, like a Dutch oven, a Tagine has two parts. There is, of course, the base here, and this is what you cook the actual ingredients in, and then there's the lid. And it's this lid that really makes a Tagine look different than any other cooking vessel. As you can see, it has this conical tent shape to it, and this design is very intentional and it's brilliant. See, with this design, what it allows is as the food cooks, the steam and all the juices from the food, they flow up into this vessel and then they drip back down. So essentially, any food cooked in a Tagine, self-based. That makes it tender, juicy, and succulent. It's absolutely brilliant. Now, Dutch ovens do the same thing. And some models, such as this Staub, well, they even have these dimples in the lid to help with self-basting, so that basically the moisture rains down on the food. But Tagines, well, they arguably do it even better, and they certainly look a lot cooler while doing it. It's amazing because people figured this out thousands of years ago. Now, as for Tagine material, well, traditionally they were made of clay, and you can still find clay or terracotta Tagines today. This one and more modern ones are made of enameled cast iron, just like that French Dutch oven I showed you. So the bottom here, this is enameled cast iron, and then this top here, this lid is made of a ceramic material. Now, if you're thinking of getting a traditional clay Tagine, something you really need to know is that before first use, they require a special seasoning process called curing, and it's a little bit laborious. Another thing you need to know is that while they technically might be safe for use on a gas or electric stove, you really have to be gentle with it. In fact, a lot of manufacturers recommend using a diffuser if you're going to use it on the stove. Now, before making this video, I actually spoke with a Moroccan woman who has a traditional clay tagine, and she says she doesn't even risk using hers on the stove. She only uses it in the oven. Honestly, if you're thinking of buying a tagine, I think it makes more sense to get one like this, an enameled cast iron version. This way you can use it on any stove, including induction, and you don't have to worry about doing any curing process. It cleans up easily. It'll be just as easy to use as a traditional Dutch oven. And perhaps even better, you don't have to worry about using only low heat with it. So you can use a higher heat to sear and brown foods before you put the lid on. Now, a tagine like this isn't exactly cheap, nor are they all that easy to find. I know that Le Creuset does sell a tagine like this, as does Williams Sonoma, and they can be about $250 or up, so it is quite a bit of an investment. I actually scored this one at the Goodwill for just $10 and was absolutely delighted to find it. It's made by a brand I'd never heard of before called Kook, K-O-O-K, and this would normally retail for about $85, which actually isn't a bad price. Now, can you cook tagine style food without a tagine pot? Well, yeah, you actually can. If you have a heavy Dutch oven like this or another heavy pot, you certainly can cook tagine style food. And well, what is tagine the meal? Well, let's get into that. So tagine the meal refers to either a stew or braise recipe. And just as with a recipe that you might make in a crock pot or a Dutch oven, a tagine, the meal, really benefits from taking tougher cuts of meat and dense vegetables. And thanks to time, low heat, and that magical basting effect, it makes everything tender, juicy, succulent, and then there's that wonderful sauce that comes from it. It's really magic. And you know what's great about those tougher cuts of meat? They're less expensive. So with a tagine, you can save money by using less expensive, tougher cuts of meat. But because of the way it cooks, well, they're going to end up tender and juicy and delicious. It really is a great way of being more economical with your money. Tagine meals can feature a wide variety of meats and poultry, everything from beef or lamb to chicken or rabbit. And even vegetarians can get in on the action by cooking dense root vegetables. Things like squashes, gourds, carrots, potatoes, they all become succulent and tender by using one of these. Now, I'm not going to claim to be an expert on Moroccan cuisine or admittedly even really all that familiar with it. But one thing I can tell you is that they are highly flavorful, highly spiced, and there's often a wonderful contrast to them. You'll find spices ranging from saffron and cumin to cinnamon. They might often also use dried fruits such as apricots or raisins for a wonderful contrast. I know that some of you out there probably have some favorite ingredients that you do use in your tagine as well as some recipes, so please do share those in the comments below. Okay, so how do you actually use one of these? How do you use a tagine to make tagine? Well, good news. It's actually pretty simple, and if you've ever used a Dutch oven or even a crock pot, the process will be familiar. You can basically think of it as three main steps. Saute ingredients on a higher heat, add liquid and bring to a simmer, then lower the temperature and let the food cook covered until everything is done and tender. The three meals I'll share here, one featuring beef, the other chicken, and the third vegetable, all show how to use a tagine, even if they don't necessarily have North African spices. Trust me, the results are delicious, and you can tailor them to whatever you like. The first tagine I tried in my tagine was a chicken dish, specifically skin-on, bone-in chicken thighs. First thing I did is I heated the tagine over medium heat, put some oil in it, and then browned the chicken. When the chicken was browned on both sides, I added a medley of vegetables. Just some simple potatoes, onions, and some bell peppers. Then I poured in some stock, lowered the heat, put the lid on, and let it cook. About 45 minutes later, everything was done, juicy, and absolutely perfect. Next up was beef, and here I was just using the toughest, cheapest cuts of meat that I could find. Here again, I sautéed the pieces of meat in hot oil. I made sure to cook each side for a few minutes so they developed a nice color. And yeah, I probably could have cut these up into smaller pieces, but hey, I was experimenting. For this experiment, I set the meat aside after browning it, and then I decided to brown the vegetables in the drippings of the meat. Once the vegetables were browned, I put the meat and its collected juices back into the pot, added stock, then here again, I put the lid on, lowered the heat, and let the magic happen. About an hour and a half later, everything was done. I had used a bit of curry spice on the meat, and boy did it smell and taste absolutely delicious, and the meat and the veggies were super tender. Finally, I wanted to try a vegetable-centric tagine, so here again, I sautéed a bunch of root vegetables in oil, added some homemade stock after the vegetables were browned, and once again, put on the lid, lowered the heat, and let the tagine cook. In about half an hour, all the vegetables and even some dried fruit I put in were cooked. I served it with rice and had an absolutely delicious lunch. So there you go, a little Tagine 101. Now you know all about this vessel and the special succulent meals you can make in it. But now I want to hear from you. Do you have one of these? Have you been cooking tagine for years? Let me know your thoughts and what you love about it, and maybe what you don't, in the comments below. Okay, trivia time. Last week I asked you to identify this interesting device here, this clamp-shaped tool, and several of you knew exactly what this is, or at least what I think it is from my research. This is a vintage citrus press. So you would take a small lemon or lime and put it in between these clamps and press it and then juice it. Honestly, it's rather interesting, but I don't know if it works as well as something like this. This is my citrus presser of choice, one like this. It has these holes, a little better shape for squeezing the juice out of citrus, but there you have it, and congratulations to everybody who correctly identified this as a vintage citrus press. For this week's culinary trivia, we have a different type of press. Get a load of this guy. If you know what this thing is, or if you have a guess, put it in the comments below, and I will of course let you know the correct answer in the next episode. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Until next time, I hope you want to cook.